Hello, hello, everybody. I want to make sure that everything is okay with the technology. Well, that's interesting. Okay. I want to see if I can get something up and going here so that we can get the chat up and going. Let's see. All right. Control room. Okay. Chat. I'm not able to see the chat for some reason, but I know it's there. Want to make sure that it is available for you guys to write and join in. Okay. All right. Okay, we're about to get started. Just want to make sure that everything is okay. All right, I know you can see everything, but what I cannot see is the chat. And I didn't disable it. So I am going to, for the sake of time, just go with it because I don't want to waste your very valuable time. Yeah, it says to allow everything. I'm not sure what is going on, but we will keep going in the meantime. Yeah, that's so interesting. I didn't disable anything. Okay. Chat. Okay. I will continue. All right. Okay. It should start to work. And if not, of course, you can send me an email and ask me any questions that you would like to ask. I am going to post on the chat part. I am going to post the workbook in case you did not. Here's the workbook. You didn't get a chance to download it or you didn't get to see it. Okay? All right, so I think with that, we should be good for a bit. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Welcome, welcome. I thank you so much for your time that you have given me and you are sharing with me. I hope that you got a chance to download the workbook because the workbook is going to be very, very important during today's class. The workbook starts out with page number 1. I always ask people to fill out their workbook, this part, because when you fill out this part, I mean, it kind of can be really scary maybe, or you might be a little anxious. You don't know what it is that you want. So when it comes to your spiritual goal, I love it when people take the time to really think. Some people just want to connect with, I don't know, their ancestors. Some people want to be able to pray quietly for 5 minutes. Some people want to be able to just meditate. Some people want to make good choices. And it's kind of tough. So if you didn't get a chance to, take the time to write page 1 of your workbook, these 3 questions and the one at the bottom, because it'll give you perspective. I see a few folks are on. Can you hear me well? I know it takes a few seconds because of the delay, but I just want to know that you can hear me very well. Yes? I need that little music from that show while we wait. Okay. All right. So let's get started. You should be able to see my screen. Can you see my screen? Should be able to. Just want to make sure. Okay, perfect. I know that there's a delay, so that's why I have to kind of wait and ask. All right, sounds good. So I'm going to be going back and forth as people start joining. I know some people were a little, it's always fun when it's in the middle of the day. All right. 10 things to know in the Orisa traditions to avoid getting scammed. I'm going to get into these things, but this is so important because sometimes when you're starting out in the traditions and you don't know what it is that you are looking to expect, you can create a lot of interesting situations, to say the least. And this is how this was created. All right, so who am I? I am Iya Omileti Olubumi. I am the creator of Orisha Wisdom and the Orisha Wisdom podcast. I wanted a platform where people can feel like people and not have to be felt looked down upon, because sometimes the interactions that I've heard between priests and everyone else can be very negative. I wanted to create a place without the ego in mind. So this is who I am. I started out in the traditions when I was about 16, when I was introduced, but I didn't get really, really serious until I say, maybe about 21, 20 to 21. I mean, by then I think I had really started to dive very far into the traditions. Down the rabbit hole I went. Okay. Does this sound like you? You don't have to answer it into the chat, but you can answer this to yourself. You're part of 200 online groups and you still feel disconnected. You want to know what to do to find your spiritual house. You're not sure which priest to trust. I think that's definitely a biggie. Let me get this out. Okay. You know people who have been scammed before, and you don't want to make the same mistake. And if any of those rang true to you, then you're definitely in the right place. I've created a 10-step, 10 things. I hope you take notes. I created the workbook so that there is a lot of workbook space, like note-taking space, so that we can go through each and every one. If you have any questions, write them down into your lined space, and that way you will also be able to ask the questions during our Q&A later on today. Okay. This is what you're going to learn today. You're going to learn expectations within the traditions. What is expected from you? What is expected from priests? You're going to learn about our traditions, the different lineages, types of reading. Oh my God, that is so important. Your ancestral foundation. We're going to talk about the ancestral shrine. We're going to talk about the worship color. What is a responsible priest? Another big one. We're going to talk about events and advice for choosing a godparent or your spiritual person, I guess, and your spiritual house. With that, I'm going to tell you how this all got started, but I didn't know it then. I was very, very young, and I attended one of my first drummings. If you are from New York City, I don't know how many people here are from New York City, but I'm from New York City, and anybody who knows anything, you know that New York is a mecca for our traditions. It's just a lot of us in there. This place is on 106th Street and Lexington Avenue. It's called Julia de Burgos. It used to be a public school, but then they turned it to a community center. And the community center serves as art, dance, all kinds of classes, anything that is cultural. Oh my goodness, cultural and drummings and things within our diaspora. So I found out about a drumming through a friend of a friend of a friend. And of course, I had no godparent. I didn't know anybody. I went, I got my best whites that I could, and I showed up. And they tell me it was packing up, it was filling up really, really fast. And somebody said, look, stand here. I don't know, it was by the wall somewhere. And I don't know, there was this big commotion in the back. I didn't understand what was going on then. Of course, I understand it now. But then a priest came up to me and he basically said, oh, sorry. And he basically said, do you have OCHA? But pretty much exasperated in my face, like inches away. And I was so scared. Of course, I said no. I didn't even answer. I just nodded my head no. And he just yelled, you're not supposed to be here. And I was so embarrassed. I was so scared. This is an older guy and he's yelling in my face. There was spit involved and I went to the back. I wanted to die. There was this woman with this humongous gele, and she came up to me and she told me, she leaned over. Well, this is how it goes. I thought that she was going to kind of coddle me and hug me and make sure that everything was okay. But no, what she did was that she told me, sometimes their heads are bigger than their crowns. I didn't understand what that meant until many weeks later. So if you do know what that means, then definitely post it. But it made a lot of sense. Then I became obsessed with people not being made to feel this way. This obsession really started then, but I didn't know it then. So I solidified it about actually more like a year and a half ago. And I really wanted to make something concrete so that new folks didn't go through that because they didn't know what to do at events. And when you come with your heart open, you do not want somebody to treat you that way. Okay. What are they saying about folks working with Orisa wisdom? So you can take the time, you can read some of these comments. We really have been enjoying working with our community because we work with priests, we work with other folks within the community to make sure that nobody goes through what many of us have gone through before. Because I was godparentless for a really long time until I initiated. And then a lot of things became clear, but even with that clarity, I did not want other people to still have to go and struggle the way that I did. Oh, very important. I'm glad this came up. Stay until the end because I'm going to give you a very special gift. This is a document that is worth its weight in gold. In gold, I have a very special class, which is sold on its own because I have had to answer the same questions over and over. How do I pick a godparent? And I decided to pull that together so that it is just done in one place. But a key part to that is this questionnaire, because when you're ready to choose, I suggest you print that out and you ask questions. The problem when choosing a godparent is that you don't know what to ask and you're just kind of going with the flow. And sometimes going with the flow is not that wise. Okay, are you ready to start on this journey? Let me know on the chat. I will be there. I'm watching. Perfect. Okay. Let me make sure. Okay, fantastic. Number one, this is going to be on your page 2 in the workbook. The Orisa traditions are not an overnight thing. It's just not. I know. I'm sorry. A lot of you may be like, but I'm ready. I'm ready right now. I'm ready right this second. The truth is, no matter how hard you try, you can't get initiated next month. Very important in the workbook, page 2. It is important to learn and understand the process of our traditions, because that way you won't suffer. You won't be so upset when things are not going your way and you don't know why this didn't happen for you. If you understand the process, you know what part of the process you are in and you know what you need to do. You have to learn and understand the process. I know that was a very easy step, but it's not that simple. You have to really pay attention to that one because there's so many moving parts. Okay, number 2, these traditions are a way of life. They are not a quick way to get what you want or to get your way. This is part of your workbook. I had to put this in its own line because a lot of people think that when they have a problem, they're just going to go into, for example, our room, our community, or a book, or another forum, and they're going to ask, hey, what can I do to, blank, whatever it is that they want here. And they expect us to say, oh, get a coconut, or get this, or get that, and get a candle, and go to the botanica. And it doesn't work that way. The process of our traditions don't work that way. These traditions are not to get spells for what you want and when you want it. This is not how our process works. This is also not a place, if you're very free-spirited and you just feel like doing this spell or that spell that you found from a book, this is not a tradition for that. If you come from a very spiritual family and they used to mix this and that and all these doodads, and especially if you come from places that have a lot of spiritism going on, our traditions don't work like that either. There are things we know how to do, but that's because it's been part of our process. It's been read for us. And the way that I'm sure you've heard, one person's medicine is another person's poison. All right. A lot of you may be like, well, why? Why is this? Traditions have structure and a reason. So we have to go through certain protocols before you decide of a spell. And by the way, we don't call it a spell. It's usually an ebo of some kind or an ademu. And those are words that as you go through the traditions, you will get used to. Oh, by the way, the structure part was in your notebook on page 2. We need priests to show us how to connect. This is also part of your workbook. That is always how things begin. There are things you can do beforehand. However, that's very limited to the knowledge that you have. And it's very, very limited. We need priests to show us how to connect. We need them to do spiritual readings for us, because no spell gets done, or no work, no ebo. I'm trying to find the word to make sure that you understand what I'm saying. No spiritual anything will get done without a spiritual reading being done beforehand. You could be throwing money into the wind if you do that, because it may not be received. Okay, moving on. The priests, they are our teachers. They're the ones who let us know the how-tos, especially for your lineage, which is why it's really difficult when you are trying to learn from books or online, because a book only speaks of that lineage of that person. Therefore, it is in only that perspective. So if you decide to follow that book, for example, whatever book it is, and you go into another spiritual house, you may be violating a lot of the things of your current spiritual house, because now those teachings conflict. The priests become our teachers for our journey within our spiritual house. Very important. This is not a solitary tradition. If you think that you are going to self-initiate or buy the statue of Oshun, Obatala, Chango, whoever, and you're just going to lift a, I don't know, a shrine, and you're going to put some pots together and you're going to try to build it, this isn't it. It's not going to have the strength and the ashet that it needs, because this is not a solitary tradition. Everything is done within a community. Even how priests are verified, it's done through a community. Number 3, learn the different Orisha traditions. This is going to be very, very important, because you may gravitate to one more than the other, and maybe that is where you belong, and it may not even be what you expected. I'm going to mention some lineages, or, well, some traditions, not lineages. That's within each tradition. I'm going to mention them for you so that when you hear it, it's not so foreign to you. So there are 2 terms that are very, very big. It used to be traditional. So whenever you say, you would hear, oh, I know somebody, a traditional Ifa, Babalawo, for example. That means that they come directly from a lineage of Nigeria that has not gone through the process of the Middle Passage when the slaves came over to the New World and all of that stuff. So it's traditional. Another word for that is Isheshe. So if you hear, oh, I am going to visit a friend of mine and she's an Isheshe priestess, now you know that that tradition comes directly from Nigeria, and it's not mixed in with the Cuban, for example, or anything else. Excuse me. You may hear of Lukumi, very big tradition. This is when they came over through the Middle Passage, and it had to be kept alive somehow. Slavery did a number pretty much on every tradition, and they kept it alive using Catholicism. Within it, there are different branches and lineages, of course, and you have Santeria, which they still associate the Orisha with a saint, and Lukumi, which they have some variations. A lot of the style is still there, but it's mostly just Orisha. They won't say, I don't know, La Virgen of whoever. They're not going to say that, because they'll just say, oh, it's for Oshun. They're not going to say La Virgen de la Caridad. They're not going to say El Niño de Atocha. They're not going to say none of that. Okay. Another one is Candomblé. Oh, by the way, let me go back. Lukumi, mainly in Cuba and Puerto Rico. Mainly in Cuba. That's where it really came from, and Puerto Rico. Of course, now it's everywhere, but this is where it kind of morphed and changed. Candomblé is another one. Candomblé is a beautiful Orisha tradition, and it landed basically in Brazil. So if you know of a Candomblé priestess, they do all of their prayers, all of their main things are done in Portuguese, because that is where it morphed and it changed. Voodoo, you will hear voodoo, voodoo, voodoo. Same thing. Middle Passage, slavery, things happened, mostly in Haiti and in many of the islands. There are probably a few others, but these are the big ones. If you're very, very interested in our traditions, you will gravitate towards one of these. So it is very much in your best interest to learn of each one, because you may gravitate from one versus another. The key is to find which lineage resonates with you. If you, let's just say, Lukumi, you really, really like Lukumi, it is very important to also take a look to see which one within it may work. Some lukumi branches, they are a certain way. The roles of the men and the women, they differ. There are things that certain priests can do and they cannot. It's good to really do your homework before committing, but that is going to be the key. Number 4, know the different types of spiritual readings for your tradition. This is in your workbook. We are still on page 2. Why is this important? Because if you do not know what to expect, you will get scammed into thinking that you're getting an Orisha reading when you're not. And you're thinking you're just following the path, and you're not. Okay. How does this work? This is the question that has to be in your mind. Let's say that you set up a reading with priest ABC. Ask them, how will I be read? And they have to answer. This is not a secret. So let's go further. The Diloguns or the Meridiloguns, so if you hear one of those two, they might say the shells, the 16 shells, you might hear that as well. But the correct terminology is Dilogun or Meridilogun. That is how a priest of Orisha will read you. From there, an Odu will come out. An Odu is going to let the priest know what is going on at the reading. That is also, we're still on page 2 of the workbook. An Odu, very important. When you visit a priest for a reading, take your little notebook, write, excuse me, what was the Odun that came out? Especially the opening Odun, you write that down. It's not going to make sense to you right now. It is totally okay. It will make sense as your journey, as you're going through your journey. There are different types of Orisha readings if you're going to be read with Ifa. So we already went through being read with an Olorisha or an Orisha priest, which is going to be with the shells, the 16 shells, the Dilogun. Now, if you're going to be read with Ifa, there's only 2 ways of being read. The terminology for the priests that you're going to be read with are the following, which is good for you to know because you'll know if somebody comes up with some crazy title, there's something off, cancel your reading and run the other direction. An Ifa reading will be read with the following, by the following people. An Awo Ifa. Awo just means student. It doesn't mean that they don't know anything. A student just means a babalawo. It's basically a babalawo who has not birthed another babalawo. But they can be excellent as long as they are an Awo Ifa. A babalawo is a father of Ifa, a father of the mysteries. And Iyanifa is the mother of the mysteries, and that will be a woman. So Awo, babalawo, or Iyanifa. If you hear those terms, they probably are the ones who are going to give you the Ifa reading. They're going to read you with 1 or 2 ways. One is the ikins. The ikins are these seeds. And when you go to a reading, there's going to be prayers. It's going to be a libation. They're going to ask you to say your name. And they might ask you, you know, what you're here for or not yet, but they're going to be doing this funky things with their hands. It's actually mesmerizing to watch, especially when they do like things and they're very adept to it. It's awesome. And then from there, they're going to pull out an Odu. It's just a different way of pulling one out. Another way of being read is with the Opele. This is only for Ifa priests. An Opele has a chain with half shells. And I picked a picture of a very simple one just to show you, but some of them can be very elaborate. If the person has, I don't know, Oshun and Elegba, you might see colors of Oshun and colors of Elegba in their tassels or in their, I mean, they're very beautiful, can be very ornate. The bottom of that board thing that you see, you will see with any reading of Ifa, whether they read you with the Ikin or the Opele. However, if they do the Opele, a lot of times they may not, I don't know, they may not. I've seen some who don't use the opong if they're going to do the opele, but absolutely, if you see the opong, which is the board, it's going to have a powder, and that's how the awo or the yanifa or babalawo, they write with their fingers a set of lines. This is basically writing the odun that comes out. There are other implements that are used in this style, the Orisa traditions, but not used in any other style of the spiritual reading. So of course you're going to see a gourd, you may see a bell, you may hear a tapper. And if you don't know what that is, it's just something that kind of does a tapping sound, a clicking sound. You may see an irukere, which is a fly whisk. You may see other things and other statuettes or things that they may give you to hold in your hands, especially for the opele, to find out the yes or the no's. They'll ask you a series of questions. That is okay because it is part of our traditions. Why did I mention that? Because now we're going to go through what is not a Yoruba reading. A Yoruba Orisha reading is not done with cards. Sorry, I love tarot. I think it's fun. Think they're pretty. But just because it's the tarot of the Orishas does not mean you're getting an Orisha reading. It's really the same archetypes of the European cards that were built by Europeans. It has nothing to do with the Orisha traditions. If you're going to get a tarot reading, just know that it's a tarot reading, not an Orisha reading. You're not going to get a reading with a pendulum. Apparently, this is a thing, so I had to use it. Somebody was giving out readings with a pendulum, and I was shocked because that has nothing to do with our traditions. If they ask you for your hand, if they ask you to look into a cup, if they ask you to get tea leaves, coffee grinds, whatever it is, that has nothing to do with the Orisha traditions. You have to understand, so you know what you're looking for, you won't get scammed. So you know that if it's going to be an Orisha reading with an Orisha priest, it's going to be done with the Tiloguts. There's no other way. Just going to be done with that. You know that if you are going to go with two Ifa, then you're going to get a reading with the Ikins or the Opele. It's just no other way. You may see other things, but only after the full reading is done with the 4 pieces of coconut. That's more of a yes or no answer. That's not a reading, although some people are very adept and they've gotten really good at it. Very important. Only an initiated priest can do these readings. Only they can do it. Let me go to the next one because, aha, perfect. If the person doesn't have initiation, they have no ashe. Ashe is the power that you have to undergo through sacred rites to get. It's like this. I'm going to explain it to you medical terms because I like medical terms. Would you really be comfortable with a person who read a few books to go do your brain surgery? I know I wouldn't. I would want a graduate with a lot of training, under a lot of doctors, in very big hospitals. I want to know ratings. I want to see reviews. I want to talk to people. I want to see everything that I could. Same thing. If you are not working with an initiated individual, they do not have the ashe that is given to really pull out an odung. I mean, it takes years to study to get that. So no initiation, no ashe. Very important. Never, ever, ever prepay for an ebo before a reading. I didn't know that this was a thing either. Apparently, I can still be shocked. If you are going for a reading with priest ABC, it should just be for that reading. There is no way that we know what is going to come out through the oracle. Sorry, we're just not that divine. We just don't know. So I found out that this was a thing, that there was a priest who actually charges $350 for a reading and prepayment of ebo. And it really bothers me. It bothered me so much that I had to create a slide because I didn't know that This is a real initiated priest. So it's not so much of the whether the person now is initiated, it's whether they're doing the right thing. So I want to let you know, take that down. So if you hear, well, just kind of prepay for that for your abo, you may not get an abo. Things may actually not be so bad, or it may be something simple. Take heed to that warning. Okay, number 5. Now we're moving on to page 3 in the workbook. Your ancestors are your foundation. You have to learn who your eguns are. Egun is another word for ancestors. You have to find out who were your family's eguns that lived a great life. If they lived with good moral character, they can help you on your journey. This is why a lot of people who come into the traditions, they want to start mounting shrines like right now. The problem with that is if you are doing things without guidance, you may not be putting yourself into the best foot going forward. If you're putting people on your shrine who really are not going to give you ire is good fortune. And one way of doing that, if you're starting out, ask if these people had good moral character. I'm not talking about whether they were perfect. I'm asking if they had good moral character. If they were very helpful individuals, then they can help you on your journey. All right. Before you begin working with the ancestors, there is something very important that you have to do. You have to align your Ori. I like this image. What is your Ori? What is it? Your Ori is your highest self. In heaven, you are in perfect essence. You are a perfect being. And we believe the tradition, see the process, that's why I say you have to learn the process so that you know what is going on and where you are in it. In heaven, you are a great, perfect being. But you decided, you're going to come down to earth, you're going to work on a few things. And that part of you is still there. There is still a connection there. It's on your head. Do you know that Ori is your own personal Orisha? Everybody has one. But usually, they're not aligned. I'll explain what that means. Actually, Ori is a very heavy-duty topic, but I'm going to very much simplify it for this class. Have you ever had that gut feeling when something is, I don't know, wrong or right or something? It almost sounds like you're talking. So when you do that, that's like your gut. That's part of your Ori. The challenge is that the Ori, it's split. When your mind and your heart and your gut are not in perfect alignment, there's conflict. Let's talk about dating. So let's say there's this really, really cute guy and I really, really like him. But something in my gut is like, yeah, but he still lives with his mom. And he loves playing video game all day long. But my heart is like, but I love him. He's so cute. I'm not aligned. I have to, when you're aligned, when the decision makes sense in your head, it makes sense in your heart, and it makes sense in your gut. You're going in the right direction. It's important. Why is it important? Because then this doesn't happen. Look at this mast. Could you imagine trying to untangle one of these? It's like you have to untangle one to untangle that one. You have to untangle the other. This is what happens in your mind. And this is how your life winds up sometimes a big, big mess because of the choices that you make. Ori helps you to make the sound choices. If you are telling your Ori, you know what, I am going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a doctor. That's what I want to do because I want to help people and I want to do that, right? Then your Ori will kind of help to put you in situations for you to get that doctor's diploma and for you to get that degree. But if you say, you know what, whatever, I'm just going to play whatever game all day long and I don't really care, your Ori now will make those choices happen. It is very, very powerful concept. The Ori will always support you in all of your endeavors. We strongly believe that if your Ori is not ready to receive blessings or great things in life, even if Orisha wants to help you, they cannot get involved. What Ori does not accept, Orisha cannot get involved. There's a lot of Oduns that speak about this, which is why a lot of people have to work with their Ori first. So lines of defense. Ori is first. You are very vested in you. Next line of defense is your ancestors. Last line of defense is Orisha. Orisha is very busy right now. They're doing the polar thing in the middle of the United States. They're busy, trying to figure out and schedule their next tsunami. They're trying to figure out tornado or no tornado here. What are we going to do with the crops? What are we going to do with? They're busy. We have tools to help us within the traditions. And as we always say, may your Ori take you to where your destiny lies. The challenge is coming here to Earth and aligning back to the destiny that we have assigned to ourselves with Orunmila in heaven. All right, actually, let me go back. Let me check the chat because I haven't seen it in a bit. Are there any questions? So far, so good? We're all still good? We're filling out our workbook and everything? Okay. Just checking, just checking. All right, good, good, good. Okay, perfect. All right, number 6. This is on page 3 of the workbook. Create and worship on your ancestor's shrine. There are 2 types of ancestral shrines you can create. One is a bóveda, which, just to simplify it for this class, is a set of glasses. It could be 7 or 9. And as long as the big one in the middle is just bigger than the rest, the big one always symbolizes you and your connection to heaven, to God. And some people have an issue with the cross. The cross is actually not a Christian thing. It is much, much older than that. But anyway, because of where the tradition, especially of the bóveda, comes from, this is a very, very simple setup. Another one that you could have is an Egun shrine. The Egun shrine is always, always, always on the floor. The reason why it is on the floor is because we are honoring our connection to the ancestors who are on the ground, which is why if you go to a priest's home, their Egun shrine is never on top of a table or anywhere high. It's usually on the floor at some little area on the floor that's designated. There are a lot of things that go with it, but that is where you put your food, your things that you're going to share, the coffee, the tea, the beer, a candle. Definitely always a vessel of water is there. And depending what you may see when you go to other people's houses, you're going to see a teja, which is a roof tile. You might see a stick there. You might see a short one. You might see a tall one. You may see the stick that's wrapped with some fabrics and stuff. I just wanted to tell you that this is what may happen when you go to a priest, because not every shrine is the same. Everything is individualized per family, for that family. You can do them both to begin to connect. I will give you this disclaimer, especially if you are doing the Egun shrine, consult a priest first. It's not just about putting things on the ground. There are a lot of things that go around it in order for you to build that shrine. Okay, number 7. We're still on page 3. White is a worship color in the Yoruba traditions. It's just the way it's been. That is why if you go to Lukumi, Sheshe, Candomblé, Voodoo, a whole bunch of those traditions that are all African traditional, white is a worship color. So in the Yoruba traditions, same thing. Wear your whites for religious events. That's on your workbook. And wear your whites in your worship. I can't tell you how important it is if you're going to do your spiritual work in your house and you're doing it in regular clothes and one day you decide to do it in your whites. It makes such a difference. It's just very quick. It may even feel like an inconvenience until you make that change. We always have in our house a saying that says, when in question, wear white. You can never go wrong with white. So you have that on your workbook. All right, now, wow, we're going through this really fast. Page 4 on the workbook. Work with responsible priests. We are going to really look into this because this is where a lot of challenges happen. What are some of the traits that we're going to look for? Make sure that they're initiated. That would be one. That's a little challenging, especially if you don't know them. Here's a couple of things. Ask them, who's your godparents? Who are your godparents? Because you don't just get one, you get a couple. Who are your godparents? If they fail to furnish this information, just tie your sneakers a little tighter and run the opposite direction. That is not a secret. If anybody tells you, oh, my godparents don't really like to talk to strangers, run. Don't get a reading from that individual because this is a community tradition. So it's not that I'm initiated and nobody knows about it, but I have to give you a reading, but I can't tell you who my godparents are because it's a secret. Our traditions don't work that way. When a new priest is initiated, it's not done by themselves. And then on top of that, that may be a small group because it always is a smaller group than when there's the drumming a couple days later where it is open for the community to announce the making of a brand new priest. Somebody had to be at either one of those. That's usually what you're looking for. You're looking for what lineage, you're looking for who your godparents are. If you feel, I don't know, if you feel kind of funky that they're not being very forthcoming with this information, I would listen to that. Because we recently had a young lady who was trying to give Dilogun readings and she was not initiated. When I asked who her godparents were, this is what she told me. They don't speak to strangers. They don't know you from a hole in the wall. The truth is, that is not a secret for anyone. If you ask me for my godmother's name, I will give it to you. Have fun talking to her. And it's not a secret. It never has been. The traditions, the way our structure is, it's just not built that way. That is a question that is very normal to ask. And you can ask, not in an interrogatory manner, but ask them, you know, who's your godparents? Who are your godparents? Where were you made? When were you made? Ask them questions and listen to yourself and see, does that make sense? And then you keep going. Okay, check out these traits. We're going to go through all three. One is, and this is page 4 in your workbook, you want somebody who is thorough. If there is a question, let's say you have a reading that, I don't know, whatever it is, that there's a danger lurking outside the house and they don't investigate that, ooh, that is not a responsible priest. You should not come off with questions from the mat. And I don't mean with questions, because you're always going to have questions. If something needs to be investigated, it should be during a reading. That is what makes a great priest. Oh, you're going to do this at bowl. Let's just do this for this class's sake. You're going to place an apple right there. And that's your bowl. That's going to give you a ray. A priest who does that and doesn't find out what kind of apple, Where is it going to be? How long is it going to stay there? Which Orisha is going to take there? Will it go there by itself? Will it take some honey? There's a lot of things. Or find out where an issue is coming, or if somebody within that house is the person of the issue. You need a priest who is thorough. It takes many years to create a very thorough priest during divination. And not everybody who is a priest is a very good diviner. Okay, next, a good trait to find is someone who is true to the tradition. I'll explain. So let's say you have a priest, an Orisha priest, who is also a palo mayombe priest. They're giving you an Orisha reading. They can't mix palo mayombe with the Orisha stuff. You have to stay true to the tradition that you're doing a reading on. That is what I mean. You could have 5,000 initiations, but if you're reading me with the Orisha, I expect it to be fully followed through within the Orisha traditions, which is why I say it is important that you learn about your traditions so that you know what to expect. Oh, wait. And lastly, how could I miss this? Somebody who explains. If you have a question, in a reading, you don't interrupt all the time. There's always an area to ask questions. A good diviner, a good priest is going to say, do you have any questions? Because sometimes it's a lot to take in all of that information that you're getting. Sometimes you're like, I don't know if this makes sense and if this is for me. And other times it's like, I didn't understand anything you just said. They have to take the time to explain things to you. It's not a rush because you got 10 other people waiting outside. They have to explain things to you. And all priests, at least the good ones that I have met, they are always willing to answer questions that may come up after the reading. Having said that, that doesn't mean that you're going to call them every day with all your 50,000 questions. You also have to be respectful of their time. They all have families, they have things to do, they want to watch, I don't know, Walking Dead. I don't know what's new anymore, but The Walking Dead, whatever it is, they have their own lives. And although they can make themselves available to you, you have to just be respectful of that, but they have a job to still explain it. And a priest who doesn't, it's a problem. In your workbook, a responsible priest does not rush you. I couldn't even find the right image. I was going to put a bunch of crazy images, but I'm pretty sure you've heard of people that are like, you have to get eleques right now, because if you don't get eleques, oh my God, you need to do that. You need to get this. You need to get guerreros. You need to do it right now, right now, right now. And you feel like, oh my God, I'm just not, that's why I'm having bad luck, because I don't have warriors, and I don't have this, and I don't have that. No, just a good, responsible priest does not rush you. It is very, very rare when there is a real urgency for you to receive something. I'm going to repeat that. It is very rare when there is an urgency for you to get something or receive it. A responsible priest does not scare you. So let's go back to the receiving guerreros. That's warriors. Let's say that somebody's like, you know what? You need to get guerreros right now, because if not, you're going to die. That is not a good tactic at all. A priest who scares you it's a very irresponsible thing. Just don't work with those types of priests. Okay. A responsible priest does not belittle you. I've heard this. I've experienced this. There are people that are like, well, I am the Santero Mayor, and therefore you are nothing, and you have to listen and do everything I say. Anybody who comes across that way is not being a responsible priest. So you can, by the way, go back and you can put that into your page 4. I hope you're taking notes. Okay. 9, attend events. That's page 5 of your workbook. Attend events. Very, very important. If you're not initiated, which a lot of you may not be, attend open to the public drummings. These are the 3 that you are going to get more familiar with until, I guess, you really are part of a house and you might find other events. But the first one is a cariocha drumming. That is when they make a new priest. Remember when I told you that in order for you to find out if a person is a priest, you find out who attended their ocha or their drumming? This is one way. So now you'll know that that person, whoever it was made, you attended that drumming. You know that for a fact. So cariocha is one type of events. An anniversary event is when said priest makes a year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years in their initiation. It's like their birthday with their Orisa. A lot of times it's a drumming. And if you get invited, that is a great place to go. And lastly, there are others, like I said, there are festivals. The Oshun Festival, Obatala, Chango, all kinds of Orisha traditions, festivals. If you are around and in the area, these should be public. Just go and enjoy yourself and just really feel the energy. I think it's great. There are other types of events, not as common, that somebody who is not part of a house will be invited to, will be privy to, will be a wedding or when a child is born or when someone, a wife of a priest is pregnant and the husband is honoring her. It could be a lot of other reasons, but these three are your main events. Events will help you to get to know your spiritual community. I've always said the story. I almost had 3 godparents. And I like them, but they weren't for me. And I got to learn what I really wanted to work with as I started to get to know my spiritual community. I started to learn what I thought was a good teacher that I wanted to have. I started to learn who the great drummers were. So I know if a set of drummers were going, we were going to have a great time. There's just a lot of intricacies that you will find, but you will get to know your spiritual community. Attending events will help you learn about Orisha as they come down and pay us a visit. You will learn how Shango is. You will learn the mannerisms. You will commune with them. You will learn things about Oshun that you may not have heard of just by watching how they have come down on their priests. Oh, let me go back. You may also, when you attend events, they may speak to you and they may give you blessings. And that is an amazing experience. Just to get an Orisha to take an interest in little old me and give me a hug, sometimes that's enough. That just made my entire month because an Orisha just took an interest to say anything to me or even acknowledge me. Sometimes there's a lot of spiritual healing that comes up from an event. Okay, 10. Take your time. I think I'm going to create a set of rolling screens that says, take your time, take your time, take your time. Take your time when you're receiving ceremonies. There really isn't any rush to get them. You're not going to die if you don't get said ceremony done. There's usually an ebo that can be done. It is very rare when it is something that absolutely comes out that you must have right away. Very, very rare. And that usually comes out after a lot of warnings in between. So in the beginning, take your time in receiving ceremonies. Take your time choosing a godparent. If there's anything that I can tell you during this class while you're hopefully eating lunch and taking a break or anything, this is an area that has caused so much grief within our traditions. You find priests later on who've been dumped by their godparents, or they have left, or they have a falling out. And a lot of the times what happens is, let's say that you receive warriors, ilekes, and a bunch of stuff, and you decide to dissolve that relationship and you move on to another godparent. Sometimes you're going to have to get a lot of those things over, and then cha-ching, you lost a bunch of money. And that's really tough. Take your time choosing a godparent. So remember, there's that very, very special sheet that I'm going to give you as a gift, which is part of something that I absolutely have. Use it. Really use it. It was created to just use it. Use it. and keep it with you, keep it in a safe place. But take your time when choosing a godparent. Rushing may get you these results, and they're all still on page 5. You may wind up in the wrong spiritual house. Like I explained before, if that goes wrong, I don't know if you're going to be okay with all the things that were done. You may have to get them over, and that's going to feel pretty bad. You're going to have a lot of wasted money. You are going to spend a lot of years without spiritually connecting. I did a lot of these things, and it was not fun. I didn't know what to do, and I wanted to rush. Frankly, I didn't care if it was Mickey Mouse who was going to make me into a santera. I wanted to do it right now. I'm kind of glad it didn't work out that way. But these are very, very big things and very, very real. You can read story after story. You can listen to videos of people who have been through it. But it is because of a lot of the choices, and many of the choices was rushing. So why did you show up today? You want to connect with this beautiful and ancient tradition. You want to find your spiritual house now. We do, because everybody tells you that you need a godparent, but you don't know where to start. You don't know who to trust as a priest. You don't want to feel like always the clock is ticking and it's running out. And you don't want to be taken for a ride. A lot of people have been taken down that path. And you don't want to lose more time in your spiritual journey. When you get to know priests, especially Isheshe, you will know that they start those kids start learning stuff when they are just talking, barely talking. They're already reciting odus and they're doing all these things. So a lot of us feel like, I can't waste any more time. How do I make it work so that I learn these traditions, connect with my ancestors, and connect with the community, and connect with Orisa, and make sound decisions on which priest to work with? That's hard. What we have is 2 options. You can do the complicated, long, costly. I did that one. And it was very lonely as well. Maybe I'll add lonely, because I was by myself and I made a lot of bad decisions. Or you can find a way to do things simply, actionably, strategic, so that you understand structure, you understand what is going on. And when somebody comes up with things that are a bit off, you'll know about that. This is why I created Alejos 101, and I want to introduce you to that. This is where we are empowering Alejos, which are the brand new people, and new Aborishas, which are people who adore Orisha, so worshipers, by learning the Orisha traditions and protocols to save them time and money. This is, before we even get into that, what I have found is that a lot of people come to me after the fact when they have done a lot of these things. And it's sad because I know that the choices could have been different. And I will tell you one example of what happened. One of our community came up to me and asked me, something doesn't seem right. And I said, well, what is it? She said, well, this priest is charging XYZ for XYZ and XYZ and the above. And I said, that doesn't sound right. That's not how we do. So she knew that kind of something didn't feel right, but because she was in a brand new place within the traditions, she was going to do it. The fact that she had us to work with and to have within like a support system to her, she was able to find a priest. She was able to complete her abo, and it was nowhere near what this other individual was asking. I just wanted to let you know that that's how important that is. So in Alejos 101, what do you get? I created this very, very special course because ever since creating Orisha Wisdom Community, I have spent hundreds upon hundreds and hundreds of hours answering questions, the same answers over and over and over. So I saw a need to just be better able to serve more people versus on a one-on-one, because, you know, I still work, I still have a family, I have a husband I would like to stay married to, I have children and a dog, and I still have to be present for them. But these questions are very present and very pressing for folks. So I created 7 modules with resources, videos, printable material, audio. It's like having me there helping you through this structure. So what's in each module? The first one is Orisha Basics. A lot of people don't even know the creation story within our traditions. A lot of people just don't know that there are other Orishas other than the main 5 or the main 7. They don't know that. And we go through this, and we go through other mentionables, which are part of the traditions, but are not Orishas. That's a great module. Number 2, we talk about dressing for spiritual success. When you come into the tradition, sometimes people think that they have to buy an entire wardrobe. And some folks don't want to look like Aunt Jemima, but some folks don't want to look like Coming to America either. I provide choices that are for respectable use during either of the traditions that you decide to go into. Number 3, this is when it starts getting really real, like real. This is prayer and worship. A lot of people like, how do I pray? Give me a Reiki. Give me this. Give me. This is your give me. I give you how to pray on your own and worship. How you start. That is foundational, and it can be very heavy duty. It's a great one. Then number 4, we talk about the ancestors. All things ancestors, and it stacks up on the 3rd one. So now you're not learning just to pray to your Ori, for example. You're learning to deal with your ancestors. It's a very big deal. And we talk about the shrine, how to set it up, and all that thing, all those things that come along with it. Number 5, we talk about events protocols. So remember in the beginning when I told you about how I came up with Orisha Wisdom at the Julia de Burgos? Oh my God, I think about it. It's like, it's still scary. It's like somebody was in my face. If I would have known the protocols, I would have known something that was up there, but nobody told me that. And I made a blunder in public because there were more than 60-something people there at that time. And that place filled up with more than 100-ish people. We talk about those things. We talk about what to expect during events. This is a very, very good module so that you know what you need to know. And if you see something that is not there, it's because some people are starting to make up stuff. There are just some things that are always basic and always there at our events. And you're not going to have to be sidetracked if somebody has, I don't know, something silly that shouldn't be there. Number 6, we talk about readings and ebos. Very, very big, because now we're talking about how to work. We go through really responsible priests, what to look for, what you should expect in a reading, what you should do before a reading, what you should do after, what you should do. All those things that a lot of people just don't tell you. You kind of find out later after the fact. And then we talk about ebos. The ebos are important. That is the sacrifice, especially when you're doing ebos that they're sending you to do something. There are certain things that are very, very big that you should know. But a lot of people don't know, so they don't know the things to look for. And this makes you very, very learned when it comes to those things. So as you're working with this priest, you're vibing him out, whether this priest is doing the right thing, is responsible, is thorough, is teaching you what you need to know. And then you're able to kind of decide if this is the person that you want to work with. Very important one. And then the 7th one, we talk about ceremonies and initiations before making Ocha. Some things, the why it's done, the what is done. So if people come up with some funky, crazy stuff, you're in the know. You get clarity. You're going to get a community with this and a support system. You're going to get the blueprint and the process, what starts first, what to expect, and all those things. So you're going to create a very unique advantage over new alejos. I wish that would have been me a long time ago, because you're going to have the Orisa traditions know-how. You're going to not be, how can I explain? Like, let's say if you go to an Isheshe event or you go to a Lukumi, you're not going to be clueless. And therefore, and also you're going to feel more and more confident as you're going along in the journey. So what you're going to create, you're going to pray in our traditions, and you're going to be able to do things on your own that you can be doing on your own. That is not going to offend anyone, that you don't have to be initiated for. You're going to begin to worship and to connect with your ancestors. You will be taught how to begin that journey for you personally, not you and 30 other people, just you. You're going to feel more confident as you learn the protocols within our traditions. You're going to have confidence in learning about the ceremonies within our traditions before Ocha. Your foundation to connecting with your spiritual faith will be very much solidified here. Oh, wait, before we get to my elephant, this is really important, because this is not going to be done by yourself. This will be done with your community. There's a community of folks that are going to be rooting for you and helping you in your own progress as you're going along. So now we can address the elephant in the room, because he's so cute. What's the investment? You could magically land your perfect spiritual house today. Good luck with that. It took me more than a decade for me to find mine. You could spend years bouncing without a godparent. That's me. I did that. It was not fun. It was really bad, especially when there were priests who were very mean, and they were very, you don't got Ocha. Like, I was made to feel many times that if you don't got Ocha, that you're nothing, like you're invisible. Time lost while trying to find out where to start, because you're reading all these books and you're on all these forums and you're looking at all these YouTube videos, but where did you personally start? I'm glad that they found their way, but then you're losing all that time. And you could lose a lot of money with spiritual work that doesn't work, especially if you don't know who you're working with, or you don't know what to work for, what to look for. That's going to be really tough, and that's very, very key within our traditions. So this is why I created Alejos 101. I saw a need for me to get this done on a bigger scale than just one person, like 101, like one-on-one. And I don't like to see those sad stories. I want folks to just do it, kind of go through everything right the first time. So this is the link of where you can check out the enrollment of Alejos 101. It's alejos101.com/join. What I decided to do is to make sure that this was just it's a no-brainer. If you feel that this course is absolutely horrible and all of the things that it has to offer does not work for you, you have 30 days. And if you don't like it, I hope you tell me what happened, but I'll refund you your money, because I want this to be a journey that you enjoy. So this is the total value. The course is pretty large. It took me a long time to create. I consulted quite a lot of priests. I looked at what people were struggling with, what they asked about, what they always asked about, all the questions and emails and messages that they were constantly asking about, and put it somewhere just so that you can have it. There are downloadable materials there. Here is very important. We have a private community. These people are so supportive. They're so kind. They're really helpful. They're in different places. We have from the brand newest person who has never heard of Orisa until very recently, to people who were raised in the traditions, to priests. It is really interesting because they know exactly where you are in your journey. And it's not a big, loud group where you are afraid to ask a question. This is a really important part. And it is, I think, one of the biggest assets that Alejos 101 has. Okay. The bonus class that I give to all of the students, because I couldn't even separate it. It is, I do provide it separately, but it's the, oh my God, parents. I think that if you are going to learn the process, you should learn how to choose a godparent. And that is why that class is so important. And I give it to all of my students as a bonus. Now here, I do 7 group calls. Each call is supposed to be an hour. However, for the students who are probably listening to this in true Alejos 101 fashion, those calls never last an hour. It's always over. You ask questions. You can find out what you experienced in the last week. You're talking to priests and other people who are going through the process with you. This, I don't know what an hourly rate would be, but this is priceless. Just to have somebody that you can ask about your own personal journey on a weekly basis for 7 weeks, amazing. And what I decided to do is have a one-on-one call with each new student, because sometimes you may be jumbled up on what you want and what you're looking for, and this has no price. That is my time. But I think that it is so useful to help someone really figure out what they need and how to best use Alejos 101 so that they can get started with what they need. Because after conducting these just, random calls, I'm notorious for making calls and just checking up on people, especially on how they post and what's going on. I just realized that sometimes a call that is just dedicated for them without any interest of mine, because I'm not looking for godchildren. I am not selling you readings. I'm not selling you shrines. I really just want you to go where you need to go. That is why I do Orisa Wisdom. That is why I do my podcast, because I don't want people to go through what I went through. Well, anyway, this is how much it is. I decided to keep it on until February 9th. The course itself is either one payment of $377, and this is an investment on you on all those 7 weeks, and that is hours and hours on the calls that we're going to be. You have access to message myself, message other people within the group. If there is an answer I do not have, I will get it for you. That covers that. But some people don't have it laying around, and that's why I made this. And I'm very excited. This is the first, well, I released it yesterday, but within this session, this is what I decided to do. I heard that sometimes it can be a little tough. And I decided that I think it would be easier just to make it very, very easy. 12 payments of $40.47. You'll have access to everything, but you won't have to pay it all in one shot. And you still have everything that you need from the beginning. So it's so easy. 30-day money-back guarantee. This is what it would cost for you to get all that stuff. That, I think, is amazing. So this is what will happen. So you go to alejos101.com/join, and you will reach a page that kind of looks like this. And then there are a lot of Q&As. You can ask, you can see if your question has been answered there, because a lot of the questions that I've been asked over time, I just decided to put them there. And then you'll go to a registration page that will look something like this, and then you will get an email from me with your login details. And once you log in, you will come to a page that looks very similar to this. This is where your modules are. Each of the little box is your class. There are things in each one of those little boxes. There are videos in every single one. There's stuff in every single one. So from the beginning, you will get the bonus of Oh My God Parents. you're going to get the class. And for folks who haven't, maybe I should put that slide there somewhere, but there are some folks who have absolutely said how helpful that was. And then there are other folks who wish they would have had this before they made interesting choices when it came to godparents. You get your Facebook community. So you always are, if you have a question and you're stuck on a module or something happened, an experience you would like to share, you have that, and you will get a one-on-one call with me. And that, and we'll schedule it and we will get that going to get you where you need to go. So this is what some of the past students of Alejos 101 have said, especially after all the work that we have done all those months. This is some of the things that they have said. You can read them at your leisure. And this is the link on top for you to check out what I have to offer. And in the bottom is my email in case you have other questions. So what I am going to do, because people have been messaging through Facebook, I don't know why, but it happens. And I would like to check to see if there are any questions here. Okay, I know that there's a delay. So here, while you guys are doing that, as I promised, I am going to get the link for you for that gift that I am going to give you. And I really hope that you take advantage of it. So I call this Getting to Know You, because I think that's like the best way to express that. Okay, any questions? I'm waiting on the chat. Okay, I have a question that came in from somebody on Facebook. So the question goes, how different is this than watching YouTube? I think that's a great question. Here's your answer, which I may also kind of have mentioned before, but here you go. In YouTube, you're going to find that person's journey, and everything is not going to be from beginning to end. There's a lot of things that go missing that you find out later. You may find out that in that person's house, this is how things are done. You may find out that in somebody else's house, that thing that they thought was okay is no-go there. You're just talking theirs and only their piece of the puzzle. So for them, maybe they had to go through getting their warriors and they went to Ifa, and that's how they did it. But that's not your journey. This is a community place, but an individual journey. And when you're looking at YouTube, you're just looking at their journey. They are not going to be fully vested in what you have to do because they're only sharing it from their point of view and their lineage only. So with Alejos 101, the difference is that we are very, very interested in making sure, I think I should change it. My ultimate goal is for people to find where they need to go and be happy getting there. Well, that's it. Okay, great question. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay. I get asked this question a lot. Okay, here we go. So the question is, shouldn't spiritual things be free? I think that's a great question. I know you felt, oh no, you don't need to put a little face over that. It's fine. It's a great question. It's okay. She's apologizing. It's fine. Okay, so the question is, shouldn't spiritual things be free? Great question. In our traditions, at least back in the days, when you were working with a priest, the priest didn't have a regular job job. That was his job, to be a priest. You can go make an appointment with that priest, and the priest would see you. However, the community would take care of the housing, the food, whatever goats were in front of his house, whatever chickens were in front of his house, whatever plants, they always had somebody to give them clothing, to do all those things. However, now, oh yeah, because some people have been sending me messages through Facebook. And what do you mean you can't see any of the questions? Are you meaning that link? And this is for Fred. Okay, going back to that. Back then, we as a community would take care of the priests. We would take care of their livelihood. Nowadays, it doesn't work that way. We cannot do that because we have rents. And the light bill doesn't care that you just did 5 straight readings in a row. You have rent to pay. This is an energetic thing. So back then, for that priest, I am going to cook for you the dinner for today, tomorrow, and the next day if you see me and you help me with this problem. That is how it was done. However, there was an exchange back then, which was that, or I will help you, I will clean and mop your house, or I will wash your clothes, I will bring you this, I will do that, and you do your job. I'll bring you the herbs and you be a priest and you help me. Now it doesn't quite work that way. The herbs are not free unless you're growing them in your backyard, and even those seeds you have to get, you have to nurture, you're spending money on water and all of those things. So that's why it shouldn't be free, because it never was free. Before, you would have to take care of the priest in one way or the other. There's just no getting around it. That priest had to eat. And that's why even in our traditions, a very wealthy babalawo, you would know that he's doing really well because the community would pay and they would give him this and they would give him an extra goat or a horse or an extra wife or whatever it was. They do well if they're helping you. So it's always an energetic exchange. It's just that now I can't give you a goat. We can't keep a goat in the house. Okay. Oh, no, you're okay. Don't worry. There will be a replay. And the questions are in that link. So you just have to kind of click within there because they're not right there when you click it. So just kind of read and then you'll be able to get to your questions. And those are the questions that I was talking about. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions either on what we covered today or on Alejos 101? Any questions? Questions? Oh, great question. Okay. Somebody just sent me a question, and the question is, if I decide to enroll in Alejos 101, do I get all the classes right away? Yes, you absolutely do. So I'm not going to trickle it or wait until the 30 days are up. There's none of that. And I also did not feel very good about raising the price. I just don't, that feels very icky. Oh my God, how did I forget this? That's because I didn't have a slide because I thought about this last minute. Okay, what I wanted to do, because I've been so excited and I've been working really, really hard on all of these slides and all of this project for you guys, I decided that I am going to, every 10th new student, I am going to give them Alejos 101 for free. So if you're the 10th one, you will know because I'm just going to place a little click on the button that says refund and it's yours. And I'm very excited about that. I wanted to make this accessible. And how did I not do this earlier? I'm sorry about that. I guess I got into the questions and completely forgot about it. But I want to make this very accessible. I want to make this that people are not very sad posting stories on how they got this and they felt rushed and they didn't know what to do, or they went to an event and they got mistreated. I just don't want them to go through that. And I've worked so hard because I know the value. I know I would have loved to have something like this. I really would have. I stumbled so much, and I know people who we're still in each other's lives. And we remember when we used to do all kinds of crazy things. We would be in the books. We would try to do spells with Oshun and whoever. And then come to find out that that was just a waste of our own money. It was crazy. It was crazy, all the things that we did. So if you do decide to enroll and be part of this very, very special community, and you do share that you've done some crazy stuff, you're not alone. You're so not alone. We've done a lot of crazy things, but I want to make sure that you know what you need to know so that you don't make a lot of the same mistakes. Okay, any other questions? I'm gonna check. I don't know why people always send stuff to Facebook. Okay. Okay, let's see. Any other questions here on YouTube? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Oh my goodness, this is pretty good. We're gonna pretty much be on time today. So I want to thank you for the time that you have spent with me. Thank you. I know it's been an hour and a half and we were trying to figure out and get the chat going, but we're good. We're good. I thank you for your time. I'm very honored that you spent it with me. If you have any questions, definitely go to the link and check out to see if this is something that can absolutely help you on your journey. I'm super excited and I'll be very excited to have you here with us. So the way that we always say, may the elevated ancestors and all Orisa bless you immensely, and may your Ori take you to where your destiny lies. So I look forward to having you. And I thank you. I want you to have a great rest of your week. Odabo, that means goodbye.